Indeed. It's been a long time coming, guys, and I thought, what better way to kick off our 2 year streamiversary with one of my favorite RPGs of all time. This is a lore based channel, this is a story based stream, and the Witcher series is, love it or hate it, it's more in depth than almost any other lore. And for setting the stage, as always, before a big playthrough, we take some time and we provide context for the things that you're going to see in the games that we're going to be playing. And there's a lot to go over for The Witcher. Because The Witcher has novels. Literally novels. Um, it's comparable to trying to provide context with an MMO, really. So grab some pens, grab some scrap paper, because there's going to be a lot of notes and a lot of really cool world building today. But, in the famous words of Thrall from World of Warcraft, I cannot do this alone. So, helping me slice through this tangle of lore, silver sword at the ready, from the school of the ink pen, Brightwind Ink.
Greetings.
What's up, Brightwind? I have a cat on my lap, so I'm gonna need you to entertain chat for a minute, because Zoja decided that she really wanted to snuggle.
I mean, cats are pretty entertaining
True. You
when they're
wanna
not trying to claw you up, but yeah.
you want to tell some people who you are, what you do, where you've been, and why you're
Yeah.
here?
I mean, that's debatable.
Huh.
But no, I am Brightwind Ink. Same name, Twitter. I almost said Facebook, which I guess is true. I just don't use it right now. Uh, but yeah, Twitter, DeviantArt, Discord, Twitch, Brightwind Ink, same name. I do art things,
and
mostly character art,
and
and Kit's a cool person.
where were you yesterday?
Oh, Souls of Iron is a thing.
Yeah, Souls of Iron is a thing that you're on. Funny that.
Yes, that is a. I feel like I'm gonna botch one of the. No, I botched it yesterday. It is a.
Fate
Let's see if I get
accelerated.
this. Beta, yep, okay.
Yeah, you
I
you
messed it up yesterday in chat, and I'm still
you
beating
fucked it
myself
up
up about it.
Sunday in chat.
Oh, that was Sunday. Okay,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
Fate
Fate
accelerated
Accelerated
campaign.
campaign. Yeah. Uh, Shenanigans.
Shenaniganry indeed. We play Souls of Iron with Brightwind every Sunday night. So if you like the personality of my co-host for today, and I always try to bring in a co-host for setting the stage because there's just so much to talk about. So if you like Brightwind, you can find him on the Discord. You can purchase art from him. Speaking of which, I need to talk to you about that. Um,
Noted.
and you can find him every Monday night here for Souls of Iron. Ow! I just fucking punched my keyboard. Good job, Kit. So let's get into some Witcher nonsense, shall we? We're going to be going over everything. We're going to be going over primary characters. We're going to be going over like the politics and the setup of the world. We're going to be going over major events. And frankly, I'm not going to play the first game. So we're going to go over the first game. Why am I not going to play the first game? Because it's aged very poorly, and I don't like it. And
Yeah.
there's some aspects of it that I don't want to show on my stream. That being said, the plan right now is to do Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings and Witcher 3, I almost said Blood and Wine, Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, as well as Blood and Wine and Heart of Stone on the stream. So we have, realistically, we might be going until October with Witcher stuff. So keep,
I 100%ed Witcher 3.
yeah,
It was.
so,
Oh,
like, it's going to take us a while. But today, this is probably going to be the longest STS we've done. So thank you for helping me out with this Brightwind today. There's so much to do. And the very first thing that I need to impress on you guys when it comes to Witcher is the conjunction of the spheres. It's called the conjunction of the spheres. And you might be thinking to yourself, what in the fuck can that possibly mean? I only found out recently that Witcher does not take place on Earth. I had said for years that Witcher took place on Earth, and the various D&D style realms, like planes basically, had collided with Earth, and that's how monsters and elves and shit showed up. That's wrong.
really?
Earth collided with another plane where the elves were fucking hanging out and brought monsters with them. So this does not take place on Earth. This basically takes place on Alfheim. The Witcher world is basically Alfheim. I learned this yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. So that whole thing about humans being better and more important and shoving out the non-human races, humans are an invasive species in Witcher. Fuck that shit. Like,
This changes. Well,
it
no, this
changes
changes.
everything. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't change my view on the matter, but
So
otherwise,
the conjunction of the spheres is, quote, I'm reading this directly off the Witcher wiki if you want to follow along, is, quote, a cataclysm which occurred 1,500 years before the events in the novels, trapping many unnatural creatures in this dimension, including ghouls, graveyears, and vampires. It was during this time that the elves say that humans, or more specifically the Dalk and Wasgor people, first appeared, their own world having been destroyed. So, Earth in this world is gone. We don't exactly know why the realms smashed together, but they did. And the destruction of that realm, of our Earth, prompted the Dalk, the Wasgor, and the Nordlings later to to come into... I'm going to call it Alfheim for now. It's not Alfheim, that's a Nordic thing, but CD Projekt Red is Nordic. I'm going to be calling it Alfheim for now. It's where the elves came from. This realm, before the conjunction of the spheres, had elves and unicorns on it. That was it. Well, as far as intelligent races go. And, fun fact, they fucking hate each other! Like... you think, oh, elves and unicorns, they're gonna get along. There was nothing but peace in that realm. No, they had wars. There was elf v unicorn wars, and that sentence is amazing to me.
there's an art idea.
Right? So, when the conjunction of the spheres happened, and all of these monsters, and they're referred to as monsters in the game, came to Alfheim, as you can imagine, the entire fucking ecosystem went tits up, right? From before there was food chains and things of a reasonable nature, kind of like how it was in our Earth, but, different structure, because there was fucking elves and unicorns. Like, imagine what would happen to the savannah, right? The Mara in Africa, if suddenly there were dragons, right? And not just dragons,
That'd
but
be fucking terrifying.
right, dragons, basilisks, minotaurs. Like, if all of these uber creatures just appeared and just blah right into the heart of right into the heart of Africa. Like, the ecosystem is fucked. And
that goes with any new species of any kind, really. So.
Pardon?
I said that goes for just about any new. I don't want to say invasive species, but
you're completely.
I mean,
you're completely right.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's a little bit worse when it's a fucking dragon.
Yeah, the whole intelligence thing adds another level to
Yeah.
it. And fire breath.
Yeah. So the elves promptly fucked off. The elves were like, I'm out, bitches. No, this fucking sucks. And they went to, I need to fucking find it again. They went to, trying to.
I'm looking over the wiki as well.
It's in Elvish, which is why I can't remember the name of it. Arnel. Einel, pardon me. Or no, that's the group of elves. It's something like that. Sorry guys, give me one quick second. Here, yeah, let's click on the INL. Let's see. They later arrived on the continent with the destruction of their ancestral homeworld. In the world of Ein El. Yeah, okay, so it is Ein El. Okay, that's what I thought. So the Einshade elves went to Ein El during the conjunction of the spheres and set up shop there. And we'll be talking a lot more about the Ein El in Witcher 3, because we are going to do another setting stage for Witcher 3. But the Einshade stayed in on the continent, is what it referred to as. And they're referred to as the Elder Folk. Because they were here before anybody else, and then humans showed up and wrecked everything. So that's the conjunction of the spheres. Now, there's a lot of bullshit that came about with all the monsters showing up, as I said before. But the most notable thing is they can't be killed. Imagine, if you will, as bad as a dragon would be in feudal England, right? Imagine the knights couldn't kill it. Right?
That might be a problem.
Yeah. It not only is it a dragon, it's an indestructible dragon. And yeah, basically, cannons, ballistas, swords, none of this stuff could kill easily these creatures. So if one ghoul got into a hamlet, the hamlet was dead because they couldn't do anything to it. Yeah. And then by happenstance, they found that they really didn't like silver. Not even to the tune of silver gets past their defenses. Silver's like acid to them. You throw a silver coin on a monster and it shrieks and runs away. And so they started making silver swords for monsters. But then they had all of the other shit to deal with, right? Kind of like Godzilla. You get past this magnetic shield, it's still fucking Godzilla. Same problem. On top of that, at this time, the force known as Chaos, capital C, had enveloped the continent and had awakened and created magic. So you have magic in the world that these monsters can use, as well as that you can use. Skeptalk Live, welcome in. Thank you very much. Thank you for wishing me a happy streamiversary. We are setting the stage for the Witcher universe today. It's a talk show that we do to provide lore and context for any bigger playthrough that we do. This is a lore-based channel. So welcome on in, and hope you're having a good day.
Now, a quick question.
Yo.
I don't remember too much from this early on in the Witcher franchise. When you say magic was introduced, was it just bam magic, or was it I don't remember how that got, or was it just, you get what I meant? Okay, let me rephrase. How was it introduced?
There wasn't an explosion, and then it wasn't Remio waking up and breaking out the mountain and then of Mount Fuji, and it was not the Shadowrun thing. But yeah, people started to be magically inclined. Either they would do a thing and suddenly a spell would come out of their hands, or they would be born with magical abilities, or they could be taught magical abilities. And what's straight across the board, what tended to happen was they would go crazy. Magic without control, without tutelage, much like many other fictions, either drives you crazy or kills you, whichever comes first. Luckily, some of the Einshade were hey, don't blow up the world. Let's help you, because we have magic and we're fucking elves. So they taught some humans how to do magic, and that's actually kind of how Lana Duren came to be, and we'll be talking about Lana Duren in Witcher 3. Skeptalk Live, have a seat by the fire. Order a drink and put your feet up. Let a keeper know if there's anything at all that you need, and please enjoy the show. Thank you very much for that follow, Skep Talk Live, and if you're so inclined, tell us of your travels, my friend. I am the Sharp-Eyed Kitsune, the teller of tales and the weaver of mysteries, the masked bard. As I said, this is a channel devoted to the lore and storytelling, world-building, role-playing, and discussions of those things. So if that strikes your fancy, you'll be in excellent company here, and if it doesn't, I completely understand. What I do isn't for everyone, but I do hope, sincerely, that you have a wonderful day wherever you choose to spend that day. And thank you for stopping by. So, with Magic, they had a way to push back the monsters to a degree that they weren't going to be wiped out. But it was still super dangerous to, like, travel the road. And so, kind of, in addition to, how do I say this? The schools of magic being put up everywhere, there were schools of witchery. The best way I can explain what a witcher is, aside from literally a hunter of monsters, a witcher is, if you play D&D, it's a warlock. It's a martial mage. It's a battle mage, depending on how you want to say it. They use a lot of specialized tools and specialized training to kill these monsters because literally no one else can. Like, it's not a matter of, oh, get the boys, there's a griffin. It's, oh, there's a griffin, we're all dead. Like,
and it is not easy to become a witcher at all.
No, it is not.
In fact, it's deadly.
For a lot of people, yeah. So let's talk about some. Do we want to talk about some notable witchers first, or do we want to talk about what a witcher is first?
I say we talk about what a witcher is and then go into the notables.
So a witcher is a profession. Now, the layman does not differentiate between a witcher, a sorceress, a witch, an enchantress, an alchemist, whatever. They're all the same thing, which you will see from commoners in the games. They don't make that distinction. But the educated, the upper echelons of society, understand that witchers and sorceresses are not the same thing. Now, witchers have the ability to cast spells like if Geralt wanted to, he could cast magic like Triss and Yennefer. We'll talk about Triss and Yennefer in a minute. But it's not helpful, right? When there's a ghoul in your face going for your eyes, like, you don't have time to wave both of your hands and cast a magic spell. Like, you don't have time. So, witchers favor speed, they favor, like, martial abilities, usually in melee, and they augment their abilities with specialized tools. Now, what makes a witcher a witcher... Now, is the Trial of the Grasses true for just the wolf, or is that for all the schools?
I want to say that's all the schools.
It's all the schools? Okay. So to make a witcher, they need to... that's exactly what we're talking about, Alistair. Alistair says, don't they have to go through a trial and have some sort of poison in them to give them their magic and inherent ability? Yes. So, to become a witcher, you need to train, much like a knight, you need to train from a very young age. And, flatly, a lot of babby witchers are either stolen or taken as payment, which is fucked up. Like, a witcher will, like, save a town from a griffin, and they'll be like, okay, now pay me. And the town is like, we have, like, maybe a gold between 100 people. We don't have enough to pay you for killing a griffin. And the witcher goes, alright, I'll take 3 of your oldest kids. It's just like, fish.
Hey, quick note.
Yo.
I'm reading about the Witcher trials, and I think the Trial of the Grasses was the first of 3 trials?
Yes. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So these kids are taken to... Some of them volunteer, don't get me wrong. Some of them are like, I want to be a witcher! And then they go and do that. But, like, most of them are taken as payment. Or just straight up taken. Um,
Yeah.
Usually for specific like attributes that they look for, good health, sharp mind, good reflexes, things like that. And then they're trained much like knights pages for several years until they undergo what's called the Trial of the Grasses. And Trial of the Grasses is the first of three, wherein they have to imbibe Witcher potions, which are very powerful alchemical ingredients. They do amazing things, but for non-Witchers, there's about a 80% chance that they'll kill you.
Yeah,
There's
they're
there's a
yeah.
couple of quests throughout the Witcher games wherein someone is poisoned and dying, and Geralt is like, I have this potion that can fucking heal your wounds, but it might kill you.
And it won't be easy.
And it'll suck the whole time you're dying. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil the specific quest, but some of them you give them the healing potion and they're fine, and you come back later and they're like, oh, thank you so much. And some of them you come back later and the villager's like, you fucking killed him, and they like chase him out of town. It's awful.
Yeah.
Like it's and you unless you have played the games, you don't know which it's going to be. Um,
I won't
and
spoil, but yeah,
right.
yeah.
So the Trial of the Grasses is they have to imbibe the progenitor potion, basically the potion that allows their bodies to take these other uber potions. Later on, it like rewrites their genetic code so that they can take these potions, and the mortality rate for the Trial of the Grasses is stupid. Like the
Like 5%.
the 5% like succeeds. Yeah,
Yeah.
like 95% of these
Oh,
kids.
here we go.
What's up?
Only 3 in 10 survived the trial.
Okay, so 30%.
Still low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's according to the
30%
wiki.
of all of these kids who are taken to the Witcher schools for various reasons survive the first trial to become a Witcher.
Yeah. That's just the first.
And let me be absolutely clear. If you live, to quote Lambert, you wish that you didn't from the Trial of the Grasses. It's awful. It's awful. And so after that, you have now that's the one. Does that one enhance your reflexes as well? I think it does, right?
That might. Let me look. I have the page pulled up.
So Alistair has a very good question in chat. Alistair says, "Isn't there mages to help the kids survive?" No. There's druids and there's sorceresses, and yes, mages exist, but if you're in a situation where you need a Witcher potion or you're going to die, the odds of there being a convenient mage powerful enough to counteract a Witcher potion
Yeah.
are low. Now, granted, if a king was, impaled on a tree, and they pulled him down and gave him a Witcher potion, and, like, one of the king's, like, sorceresses was there, then, yeah, he'd probably be okay. That is 1 in about 1,000. Like,
Yeah. Here we go.
yeah.
For the grasses.
Mm.
But those who did survive gained lightning quick reflexes, signature cat-like eyes, and other bodily enhancements in
Yeah.
return.
Okay.
So yeah, that one was the physical stuff.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of other trials, but that's the big one. The one that people talk about is the Trial of the Grasses.
Yep, ground chat has it right.
Yep. The trial gives you the cat eyes, reflexes, and the ability to withstand more poison. Yep. And then once you pass, the other two are more about proving your worth, right? Proving your mastery of Witcher tools. And Witcher tools are swordsmanship, alchemy in the forms of potions, bombcraft, which means gunpowder, and signs. And I want to talk about each of these. So, Witchers don't tend to use plate mail armor. They don't tend to use heavy armor in the sense of that we think of heavy armor. And they don't use shields. In fact, they prefer to use only one hand when fighting.
Another note.
Mm.
Going back to the trial, 2 of them are for more physical things, one of them is a trial.
Right.
The Trial of the Mountains. The second one is like a test.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it's good. So Witchers rely on speed because they don't have a lot of defenses. So the Trial of the Grasses enhances their reflexes, and they train for years not only to be able to fight blind, which you see at the beginning of Witcher 3, which we'll talk about more when we play that game, but then like there's a lot of spin. Like, they look ridiculous. Like, if you saw someone at a LARP like doing Witcher moves, and you were like fighting them in like a LARP arena or whatever, you would just pop them in the back and it would be over. They would lose immediately. They look
still want to be their friend. But...
They look like dervishes. Like they're spinning around and they're like swinging their sword above their head and like crossing it across their body, and it just looks real dumb. Until you factor in that fictionally, they're doing that about 3 times faster, and I'm not exaggerating, than a normal person can see. Witchers literally disappear when they fight. You don't see it because you always play the Witcher games from the perspective of a Witcher. But I've seen a couple of cinematics wherein you see it from someone else's perspective. And Geralt pulls out his sword, disappears, reappears like a ninja, and everyone falls over dead. I'm not actually kidding.
I think I know the scene you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I just can't remember where it's
Hunting
from.
monsters.
Okay.
Or killing monsters. The cinematic is called Killing Monsters. So it's, if it looks stupid but it works, it's not stupid, right? So their swordsmanship is quite literally second to none, and it's because of the Trial of the Grasses that they're able to do that. That and years of training. Now, because of that, there's not a lot of ex-Witchers, because all they're good for is killing shit. So the second thing that Witchers are trained in is potions. And we've talked about the Trial of the Grasses, we've talked about Witcher healing potions. They can make potions that do anything from augmenting their senses to the point where they can see, like, your heart inside your chest, and they can see in complete darkness, to they can make their blood poison. They can make themselves unable to be possessed by, like, ghosts. There's a couple of other ones. It's insane. And specialized oils. Thank you, Groudon. They can coat their blades, steel and silver blades, for humanoid and monsters, respectively, with things that are specific to a given creature. Now, what's interesting is, in the games, there is something called Draconid oil. Dragons are immune to it. It works on things like basilisks and drakes, and not true, full, like, Sean Connery and Dragonheart dragons.
I think they work on wyverns in Witcher.
They work on wyverns, they do not work on dragons.
Yeah, but not dragons, so.
Yeah, say Synthesis... What's her name? Say... 1 second. I'm gonna look this up.
I feel like I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember her name.
Say Synthesis. That's what I thought it was.
Oh, okay.
Say Synthesis is a character that you will meet in Witcher 2. She is immune to Draconid oil. And I'm not gonna spoil what her other name is, so you'll meet her later. But they're, like, the oils give them a boon against various things. Like, let's say that there's a wood elemental, right? It's a spirit of the wood. It has, like, trees growing out of it. It can make vines attack you, whatever. If you put blight oil on your silver sword, it's gonna hurt. But being able to know what's good and what's, like, not good against a given thing, when to use steel and when to use silver, because a silver sword ain't gonna do shit against a bear, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's important to know, and
I have made that mistake.
Right? And Witchers are trained to be able to do that stuff. Now, Steel versus Silver is kind of obvious, you think, until you see a bear in Witcher, but the potions thing and the oils thing is much less known, and Witchers are trained to, like, the players are given a bestiary. The players have a thing that they can look at and quick reference, and it's like, oh, it's a wraith. I need to use the potion that I can't be possessed, and I need to use Spectre Oil. But Witchers just know that shit.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, like, they're super smart when it comes to their trade. They also have bombs. And the most important thing that you can do with bombs is you can go fishing with them. If Witchers need to eat and they're out in bumblefuck nowhere, they will make up a grenade, throw it in the nearest river, and just pull out the fish. I'm not kidding. And Witcher bombs do more than just become grenades. They do have grenades, don't get me wrong. But they also have things like acid breath prevention. They have flak. Literally, they can throw up a thing. It's called glimmer dust, and it'll pop in midair. It'll airburst, and it'll make this cloud, and like lightning breath and fire breath can't get through it, and other stuff like that, which is super important. But it goes back to the reflexes thing, because they have to do that in the time that the dragon opens its mouth and breathes fire on you.
And know where their equipment is, and memorize what does what, all in that moment.
And so they have a bunch of interesting bombs and stuff that they travel with as well. The closest thing that I can compare a Witcher to in D&D or in other popular media, they're like a vampire hunter. They're like Van Helsing, right? He has that suitcase full of like all those interesting tools. Simon Belmont, same thing. They're Witchers, basically. And then my personal favorite thing that the Witchers can do is signs.
I love signs.
There are 6 primary signs, 1 sign that is used in the novels, and 1 sign that is used in one of the games. So there are technically 8 signs that we know about right now. The 6 main signs are Ken, Axii, Yrden, Igni, Ard, and I always forget the 6th one.
Ken?
I said
no,
Ken.
It's not Ken. It's not. Oh, you did?
Ken, Axii, Yrden, Ard, Igni, and... Is there just 5?
There might just be 5. Because there's the shield.
The shield?
Well, there's the... I don't want to say...
Well,
we want to get into these now?
Yeah, let's go through them. So,
okay.
Each of these do different effects, and each of these can be cast with one hand. It's basically 2 or 3 hand gestures with one hand, hence the one-handed fighting thing, and then maybe a power word, and a quick effect happens. We're not talking about, I cast Fireball at 5th level. We're talking about get away, shove, right? Fusorda.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, absorbing a hit because you're not quick enough. 1 hit. We're talking about, like, late... Yeah. And each of these signs are just quick little things that do something like that. So, Ken, Quen, Ken, is a shield. You just throw it up. You cannot, interestingly, fictionally speaking, you cannot heal while Ken is active. So, your health is in stasis. You cannot improve your health while Ken is on, but it will stop you from taking the next hit. So, if a big, like, what's the word I'm looking for? If, like, the Watcher from Lord of the Rings, that big squid, is, like, about to smack you with its tentacle, you can throw up Ken, and you'll get knocked back, and you'll probably take damage from smacking into a tree, but you won't take damage from the huge, like, Cthulhu thing that just hit you. Or you won't take as much, depending. Igni is what it says on the tin. It's just, like, fireball. Fire in front of you. You can't really aim it. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's just like, hey, bitches, I've got fire. Get back.
Create space.
Yeah. Ard is the primary means of creating space. Ard is literally Fusorda. You just, Ard.
I
out
love fire.
out in front of you, just blast. Or you can blast it down and make a circle around you. You can't do things like, I cast Ard, but I don't attack my comrades. It's just, no, I cast Ard. Everything in the wake of Ard is gonna fly backwards.
Yeah.
It's literally Unrelenting Force from Skyrim. It's the same spell.
Yeah. If anything's in their path, it's probably gonna get knocked over. So.
Axii is my favorite, because of course it is. Axii is Charm. If someone is straight up like angry and hostile to you, Axii will stun them. It'll daze them, and they'll wake up about 10 seconds later, like, what? But 10 seconds to a Witcher is like 10 seconds to Barry Allen. Like, they're like, it's a good stun. If they're not hostile to you, it's the Friends spell. Right? And so a lot of times you will see Geralt, like, talking to someone, and he'll put his hands behind his back, like he's, like, a soldier at rest. And he'll cast Axii, and then he'll be like, I need more money for that job. And they'll go, you totally deserve more money for that job. And, you know, like, the people with him are like, what the fuck are you doing, Charlie? Like,
yeah.
Axii's great, but it's single target, which is also funny. Axii does not...
imagine if it was multi-target?
Right. Axii does not work on things that are, quote, strong-willed. And so, like, a king probably will not be susceptible to Axii. A dragon is probably not going to be susceptible to Axii. But it's useful, right? It's useful in the way that all of the Witcher signs are proportionally useful. Now, there's two other signs. One of them is mentioned in the book, and one of them is like an ultimate ability in one of the games. And the one that's mentioned in the book is called Sombre, or Sombre. And it's literally the Latin word for sleep. Sombre, something like that. And it does what it says on the tin. It's the sleep spell. It's a little bit creepy, because there's someone that Geralt in one of the books needs to... Oh, I forgot about Yrden. Thank you, Groudon. There's in the books there's someone that Geralt needs to abduct, and he just puts him to sleep and drags him off into the woods. It's real creepy. In the same way that love potions in Harry Potter are real fucking creepy.
Yeah, just a bit.
So there's that. But yes, Groudon reminded me of Yrden, which we forgot about. Groudon says, in combat, Yrden with the zapping glyphs is my favorite sign. Yrden is a trap. It's a very brief trap, it doesn't last very long, and it doesn't hold for very long. But anything that steps into Yrden freezes for like 2 seconds. Which again, when you're Barry Allen, right, it's very useful.
Very useful if you're in a 1v multiple anything fight.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I tend to prefer Ard for that. But yeah, like Yrden is good. It's suspended animation. It works on non-living things too. Like if a pillar is falling and you throw Yrden on the bottom of the pillar, like it's gonna freeze for a couple seconds, which might be enough time for you to get your hot redheaded sorcerer's friend out of the way. I don't have a problem. You have a problem.
That'll be fun to talk about later.
Right. And with these tools, Witchers go out and they they kill monsters, they get paid, and they build their reputation, let's say. Now, there are other effects to a Witcher that make them blur the lines between man and monster in the eyes of the common folk. So, Witchers are sterile, which means with their increased stamina, they tend to fuck a lot. And...
I mean, wouldn't you?
Right, exactly. But they can't have kids, so commoners are like, you're always with women, or men, depending, you know, and yet you're not producing any heirs. You're weird. Like, that's off-putting. They look strange. At least they have cat-like eyes and pale complexion. More likely, they have cat-like eyes, pale complexion, they're covered in scars, and if they've been imbibing a lot of potions, you can see black veins all throughout their skin, which is off-putting to commoners. They're extremely resistant to disease, so they can be covered in gore, and they can have, like, puncture wounds, and they can be, like, on a battlefield full of dead bodies, and be fine, right? They don't move like a human. They're really fast. They're really strong. Their joints are a little bit different. They move weird. They disappear. Again, they can cast magic. They heal quickly, and they live a really long time. All of this stuff is it makes commoners mistrustful of witchers. On top of that, they're educated, which anybody who knows anything about, feudal England, or feudal Europe, I should say, knows that's a recipe for mistrust. They only show up when bad things happen, when a monster attacks. They demand payment, and they take it by force if they don't get it. Sometimes they ask for things that the person feels that they can't give up, like children or property or more money than they have. They're politically neutral, which, again, to a commoner, it's like, you're not with my lord, you're weird, right? So, they're, like, one of the words that gets bandied when talking about a witcher is the same word that gets bandied when talking about the thing that attacked your village, monster. Which is... It's telling. It's really telling about the reason some witchers act the way that they do, right? They have a reputation for being cold. Part of that is from the Trial of the Grasses. Part of that is because they're always treated with disdain, or mostly treated with disdain. Freak is also frequent, Groudon, exactly. They tend to be aloof. They do their job, they get paid, they move on. They don't think about the necessarily the consequences, depending. They don't have a lot of friends. They rarely marry, things like that. And you'll see a lot of that with Geralt. What I love about The Witcher is Geralt is not a good character. He's pants. He's for the player to play how they want him to play, or how they want to play, and they can build Geralt around that. But because of the way Witchers are, it makes sense fictionally. Now, that changes a bit in Witcher 3, and we'll talk about that in Witcher 3. But I actually think that's a negative to Geralt. Now, before we go into notable Witchers, I want to say that one of the reasons that I like the Witcher world as much as I do is it does not shy away from what a monster is. Like, a lot of games, the trope of the cheesy mustache twirling villain, is a trope for a reason, right? Like, the bad guys are like, I'm going to take over the world because I want to. Like, with this, it's like, yeah, there are characters that are awful. There are humans that blur the line with ghouls. There are monsters that blur the line with humans. Excuse me. But on both sides of the equation, there's just it's dark and it's desolate and it's heavy. There's a scene in Witcher 3. I won't spoil any of the characters involved, but I'll spoil one, Geralt. There's a scene in Witcher 3. It's Geralt, an army commander, and the army commander's lieutenant / love interest, who is a woman.
Real quick, if I may.
Sure.
I have to AFK for a few minutes. I have to go do a thing.
By all means.
Be right back.
And the three of them are riding along on horseback through the countryside, and they see bluntly some off-duty soldiers storm into this random village that's not on the front lines, and just start killing people and pillaging and doing what awful soldiers are wont to do. And the woman spurs her horse immediately and like pulls out her sword, and she's gonna go fight. And the commander pulls his horse in front of her, and she goes, "You're not wearing armor. You're a woman. You're not going down there." And it's just like, holy shit, man. Like, and you'll get that a lot in Witcher. You'll also get a lot of stuff where that doesn't happen and terrible things happen to someone in Witcher. And it doesn't shy away from that. It's uncomfortable at times. But that's one of my favorite things about Witcher, and I think that should be praised. So let's talk about some primary players, right? And the most obvious one, to me, is Geralt of Rivia. Let me grab a picture of our boy. Here we go. This is a good picture. So, Geralt of Rivia. I need to save it, I think. Burp. Here we go. Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf, the Butcher of Blaviken, yes, that's his name, is the primary protagonist of all three games. Geralt is a Witcher, and not a lot is known about him before he becomes a Witcher. We know he's from Rivia. We don't really know about his family. He grew up in Kaer Morhen, the Witcher School of the Wolf. In the events of Witcher 1, which I'm not going to play, the game starts with Geralt as a Witcher in his adult life with no memory. That's one of the reasons I don't like Witcher 1. And throughout the course of the game, he has to figure out who the fuck he is and where the fuck he's going. That's less of a problem, albeit still some of a problem, in Witcher 2, and that is gone in Witcher 3. I'll be talking about a plot synopsis of Witcher 1 in a bit, and I'll be giving a little bit of context for Witcher 2. But Geralt is the first name that you need to know. Geralt of Rivia is the primary protagonist. He's the player character, and he is... He's the boy, as it were. His mentor is a Witcher who is probably my favorite Witcher. And his name is... Let me grab his picture. Vesemir. Vesemir is... He's Witcher Grandpa, right? He is the much-loved, mostly retired Obi-Wan Kenobi figure in the Witcher universe. He helps Geralt once he finds him in Witcher 1. He helps Geralt with information in Witcher 2, and he travels with Geralt in Witcher 3. He's still a Witcher. As you can see, he's much, much older than Geralt. And Geralt is old himself. Not by Witcher standards, but by human standards. Vesemir is an old Witcher, and there's not a lot of old Witchers. He's really, really good at what he does. And he is literally referred to by a couple of the other main characters as Uncle Vesemir. He does Witcher contracts. He does them well. He's a good-hearted person. He's more emotional than Geralt and some of the other Witchers. He is just... He's a good dude. And if you see this guy show up on screen, you know that you're going to get some Uncle Iroh, Avatar-style wisdom. And he can also fight like any other Witcher, so that's pretty cool. Another Witcher that you're going to meet is... One second. Is this guy. Let me find a good picture of him. Here we go. Is Lambert. Lambert is... Oh, shit. I fucked up. There we go. Lambert is another Witcher. He's not nearly as prominent in the games as Geralt, but they're basically peers. Lambert is from the School of the Wolf. He did the Trial of the Grasses at basically the same time Geralt did. I think he was actually in Kaer Morhen longer than Geralt was. But they're peers. So if Lambert shows up, they're gonna probably go drinking and whoring. He's a lover of women and wine. He does his contract. He's very aloof. He does his job and he kind of doesn't really care for the peasantry, but he likes their money. Lambert does not peer as often enough, but because he is a Witcher from the School of the Wolf, I wanted to mention him next. So that's Lambert. There's not really a lot to tell about Lambert, but there are a lot of characters to get through. There's Geralt's primary leading lady, my most hated character in any game ever, is... God, I hate this character. Is Yennefer of fucking Vengerberg. I hate Yennefer so much. She is cruel and conniving. She's incredibly intelligent. She's a very well-written character. I don't hate her because she's a bad character. I hate her because she's a bitch. She is of the Lodge of Sorceresses, which we'll be talking about in a minute. She is she's a little bit touched in terms of her magical ability. She's very strong. She is a royal advisor, and she is Geralt's lady. He absolutely loves Yen, and it's reciprocated as much as an Ice Queen can. But she's just cruel to Geralt, and Geralt is one of the only emotions Geralt has is complete infatuation with Yennefer, which is a problem. I don't really like her humor. One of the quote unquote jokes she makes is Geralt and Yennefer are in a fight. Geralt is losing, and she's not giving him, magic support, which is the primary role of a sorceress in combat. And he says, Yen, help, what are you doing? And she says, oh, sorry, are we fighting? I was thinking of how to sell Kaer Morhen out from under you. Kaer Morhen is, Geralt's home. It's where the School of the Wolf is. It's this really awesome, temple / ruin / fortress in the mountains. And that was just unnecessarily cruel for her to say that. And that's one of many things that make me just despise Yennefer. But a lot of people like her, and, I'm told she's attractive. But she's a very competent sorceress, she's a very competent strategist, she's a very competent royal advisor, and you'll be seeing a lot of Yen in, Witcher 3, and a little bit in Witcher 2. And mostly Yen shows the professional aspect of the Lodge of Sorceresses. And we're getting into the Lodge of Sorceresses about now. So what are these? The Lodge of Sorceresses. So in the same way that Jafar in Aladdin is the king's advisor, in the same way that Merlin is King Arthur's advisor, the Lodge of Sorceresses are it's formerly the what's it called? It's formerly the School of... It's not School of Sorcerers. It's... Witcher Wiki. 1 second. It is the... Lodge of Sorceresses. It's formerly the Brotherhood of Sorcerers. That's what it was. And it was the preeminent magic school on the continent. And what they did was they would take mages who were going to kill themselves or go crazy and hurt other people, and they would teach them. It's Hogwarts, basically. And they found that they could get very high up in the echelons of society if they provided, divination magical understanding because they were educated on it and like nobility wasn't. Um, and other things like strategy, math, culture, like multiple culture, diplomacy, things like that. Um, because they were taught those things, and members of the royal court weren't necessarily. And so they became advisors to dukes and kings and queens and royals and generals all over the world. And the Lodge of Sorceresses became synonymous with royal advisors. And several of the members of the Lodge of Sorceresses are seen and dealt with um, in The Witcher, because Geralt works with royals as much as he works with commoners, and there's the omnipresent sorceress, usually almost always a woman. Sometimes there's a priest, sometimes there's a druid, sometimes there's a sorcerer, but there's pretty much always an attractive woman at a leader's side when Geralt deals with said leaders. Um, and there's several notable sorceresses, but the biggest two are Yennefer of Vengerberg. And biggest by that I mean not in the lodge, but um, in Geralt's life, are Yennefer of Vengerberg, and if I can grab this picture, Triss Merigold. As you can see, Triss Merigold is behind Geralt in the splash art for this, and this is Triss. Triss Merigold is she's the punky, like scrappy tomboy version of Yennefer. She does her job well. She is an advisor to a king. She's really good at casting magic, but she's also like, she's annoyed that it's a boys' club. She's working to increase the standing of women. She's politically driven, but she's also like, yeah, like I could cast a fireball at you. I could also punch you in the face. Like she's scrappy, and I like her a lot. Of the two main women, three arguably if you count Centrella, um, in Geralt's life, I prefer Triss over Yen because she's just nicer. Just across the board, she's just nicer than Yen is, and I appreciate that a lot. As does Geralt. We're talking about the Lodge of Sorceresses.
Triss is best girl.
Triss is best girl. I agree with you. Some other notable names that you will see is let me grab some more pictures here. In the Lodge of Sorceresses, where's a good picture of Sheila. This will do. No, it won't do because I apparently can't save that picture. Bugger me. Got it. Get fucked. We have, and I apologize, I could never say this woman's name right. Her name is Sheila, but her full name is Sheila de Tansarville. And she is a member of the Lodge of Sorceresses. She is not quite the leader of the Lodge of Sorceresses, but she is more important than Triss is. She's the one who holds like the summits between the sorceresses. She does a lot of brokering deals. If there's a new faction that appears on the continent, Sheila's the one who like assigns them a sorceress, which is usually through duplicitous means. And by that I mean she sends a beautiful woman to the king and they start making out and she goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm a sorceress." So that's a thing. I'm not even kidding. Sheila totally does that.
Yeah. And if it works.
Yeah, very true. Women and men in Witcher are not above using sex to get what they want. And oftentimes what they want is power, which is true for history, right? So that's interesting. There's a lot of there's a lot of sex in Witcher, but it's not like it's yes, it's fan service, but it's meant to be a power play. Like if
Yeah.
it on both sides, right? There's the physical overpowering of a soldier having sex, um, and then there's like a sorceress like fucking a king in front of his wife because she can. Um, and there's a lot of that. So be prepared to be mature about that because it's gonna happen a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to say it's everywhere, but
it is. It's as prevalent
yeah.
as the violence. Like, and it's a very violent world. So yeah, like it is a political tool that people, mostly women, use in Witcher to great effect. Full stop.
Yeah.
The leader of the Lodge of Sorceresses, probably the most well known sorceress, and arguably a bigger bitch than Yennefer, is, if I can find her fucking picture, here we go, um, is, and we don't actually see a lot of her, but she's important anyways, Philippa Eilhart. Philippa is the leader of the Lodge of Sorceresses. Triss, Yennefer, Sheila, Kara, all of these people answer to Philippa. Is Philippa? You might know this. I don't know. Is Philippa related to Lana Duran, or is that only Centrella?
I think that's only Centrella.
That's
but I could
only
try to
Centrella. Okay, we'll talk about Centrella in a minute. So Philippa is the head of the Lodge of Sorceresses. It says de facto on her wiki. I'm not sure why. I'll need to look into that a little bit later, probably before Witcher 3. But in Witcher 2, Philippa calls the shots. Philippa calls a meeting of the Lodge of Sorceresses. Philippa like she tells Sheila who to assign where. She's a very powerful mage. If Philippa shows up, somebody is having a baby or somebody's gonna die. Like,
Not wrong.
no, it's not. Philippa commands the power that Yennefer wishes she had. And Yennefer has very close to that, but Philippa can move mountains. So the name Philippa Eilhart is bandied around in the same way that, like, the name Superman is bandied around.
Pretty much.
It's like don't fuck with me. I know Philippa Eilhart. That's like saying don't fuck with me. I know Tony Stark. Like, same thing. Like,
There's a quest in Witcher 3. I'm not going to say which one, but you might remember it. Where she shows up at the end and just flips everyone's head up their asses, and it is amazing.
oh yeah. That's
It's toward the end of the game. That's why I don't want to spoil it.
it's toward the end of the game, and it's after you do the other thing for her.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just perfect.
Oh yeah, it's real good. And like all of the mages, all of the sorceresses in the Lodge of Sorceresses are badasses. Like I cannot stress that enough. Like even Yennefer and Sheila, who are a little bit on the Wayfish side, like have done Witcher-like things before. Like Sheila, like straight up kills a kraken. Like there's
I did not know about that.
yeah, no, there's straight up a part in one of the Witcher games, and I think in one of the novels, where like this big like kraken shows up on a ship, and Sheila just goes, "Fucking lightning bolt, bitches!" and just fries it. It's great. And
Honestly, that was probably 2.
yeah,
Witcher 2.
and Yennefer stops wars. Like,
Yeah,
that's not an exaggeration. Like, it's these armies are charging at each other. Yennefer appears in the middle of the armies, like holds a hand out on each side, casts Fus Ro Dah, and just blast all of them back. And she's just like, "Fucking stop, or I will fireball every single one of you."
something first hour of Witcher 3.
Yeah, exactly. Like so like they are unilaterally badasses. If somebody shows up and they're like, "I'm a sorcerer," and you're not a witcher, run.
Yeah. I mean,
do not
you don't fucking
do not piss off any of these women. Just don't do it. Now that is not true of Francilla Bigo and that's not true by who's the witch? Was that Francesca?
Uh, I'm trying to remember where the witch was from.
2.
I don't remember all that much from 2.
Also, they're very often burned at the stake and treated like witches because, again, there's no delineation between a witch and a sorceress. Which is, they're persecuted. Which, yes, they could fireball the whole town, but that would be a war crime. So,
Did she have white hair?
Francesca, no. Francesca had... the witch that I'm thinking of had dark hair. Batclam, welcome in. Thank you. My Streamiversary is actually Friday, but it is the Streamiversary week. And we are setting the stage for the Witcher series today. It's a talk show that we do to provide context and broader lore for a big playthrough that we're going to be playing. And there's a lot of context needed for Witcher, so have a seat. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Can we put the...
This character's from Witcher 3, but I thought of the,
Sabrina! Sabrina is the one that I'm thinking of. Sabrina Glevissig.
The name sounds familiar.
She's from Witcher 2.
This person. Okay, I looked up a picture.
The one that, yeah. So can you go ahead and put the spotlight on the Fierce Ferrets for me, please?
Yeah.
Guys, keep an eye on chat for the Batclam stream, and go and check her and her husband out over at twitch.tv/fierceferrets. They're awesome, and thank you for the support, Batclam. Anyway, so you'll see a lot of the good and the bad of the Lodge of Sorceresses. But these are the 4 main... Well, should we talk about Kira?
1 second.
Kira is more prominent in Witcher 3 than Witcher 2.
Kira, who I was thinking of a few minutes ago. We should...
Should we talk about Kira?
I'm debating if we should wait for Witcher 3,
I think we should wait for Witcher 3.
Yeah, let's wait for Witcher 3.
So these are the 4 main ladies that will be prominent in Witcher 2 from the Lodge of Sorceresses. And they are, all of them in their own way, badasses. Speaking of badasses, let me clean up my Let me clean up my OBS.
Are you going to who I think you're going to?
Pardon?
Lethbro?
No, I'm not going to talk about Lethbro because Lethbro is a spoiler for Witcher 2.
Okay. Well, I technically didn't say his full name, I guess.
You did not, no. You're fine. I need to move... Oh, that's what I need to do. I need to move Triss above... There we go. I can move her over, and I can move her over, and I can move Vesemir over, and I need to make some space on my screen. So, aside from these guys, there are royals at play. There are nation-states. And we can't talk about the nation-states without talking about... Yeah, let me find him. I'm trying to find him. Oh, come on.
I'm trying to think, dude.
Ciri's father.
Google, help me out here.
Emir.
No, I'm gonna mess this
Emir.
up. The pronunciation.
Yes.
Emir.
Yeah, I was looking for his full name. We can't talk about nation states. We cannot talk about empires in the world of Witcher without talking about one man who is trying with varying degrees of success to rule the world. And he is literally, his title is the White Flame dancing on the graves of his foes. And yes, you are to address him as such. Emir Var Emreis.
I hate this guy.
Really, I love him. He's awesome.
As the character, he's amazing. Yeah.
Emir, his full name, I found his full name. Emir Var Emreis Daithwan Adan Incarn Aib Morvud. The White Flame dancing on the barrows of his enemies is the full translation.
Yep.
Also known to a few Known to a few under his alias of Dunai, the Urcheon of Ehrenwald was the imperator of the Nilfgaard Empire. Shiza. This dude is responsible for most of the political conflict in Witcher. End of sentence.
Pretty much, yeah.
He owns, what, almost the entire, like, west of the continent? Like, he owns...
He doesn't, but pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, effectively, he owns Western Europe.
The place I'm thinking of, I can't say the name of because it's a big spoiler for Witcher 3. So.
We'll get there. And everybody else... His empire is called Nilfgaard, by the way. And pretty much everybody else, Redania, Temeria, there's one that starts with a V, help me out. Hang on.
Probably gonna find it before I do.
Hang on.
That's not it. It's not Velen, is it?
Yeah, Velen,
That's
thank you.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Velen, like, Zerrikania, all of these places are kind of fighting for what's not Nilfgaard. Like, I really wish I was kidding. Nilfgaard is huge and powerful, and if if Ymir wants something, he gets it. Except for one thing. There is one thing that he wants that he cannot have, and he strives very hard to get it. And that one thing that he wants is the affection of his daughter. His daughter, you may have seen pictures of if you know anything about Witcher. His daughter is Centrella.
My favorite character.
Full name, let me get her full name, because she also has a long-ass fucking Nilfgaard name.
Yeah, it's...
Sorella,
I don't remember it.
Sorella Fiona Ellen Rionen, Princess of Cintra, is her full name. That's where I got Centrella from. Sorella Fiona Ellen Rhiannon, Princess of Cintra. And she hates Ymir. She hates him. You might recognize a certain picture. This is Centrella's. This is Centrella's official royal portrait hanging in Ymir's study.
Oh no.
That's how much she hates Ymir. That's how much she hates Ymir.
Yep. I remember this. I laughed my ass off when I first saw it.
And she fucked off to parts unknown pretty much as soon as she could. I'm talking about a child. She was like, what? How did, like, I wonder if the wiki says when she fucked off. Let me check.
Had to be like...
It was early, but I wonder if it gives an exact age. Also, she's only 5'9" as an adult, which is amusing to me. Let's see.
I'm just gonna take a pot shot guess to be fun. I'm gonna guess like 8 or 9. She had to be super, super young when she left. But... I have a papa.
Nice.
If he starts barking, I'll mute for a few minutes, but...
Yeah. It doesn't actually say. But she was a child. She was less than 10. And Yen was taking her to somewhere for Ymir, and Ciri bolted. She's just like, fuck this, I'm done. I'm not dealing with you, sorceress lady. I'm not dealing with my dad. Like, no, fuck it. And she just goes. And she gets captured by dryads because she's a little kid in the Witcher universe. Like, she immediately gets, just like, goes off the road, immediately captured by dryads, who want to turn her into a dryad, which, you know, sucks. But Geralt saves her, and immediately she sees in Geralt what she wants her father to be. Like, she doesn't want courts and tutors and fine clothes. She wants someone who can help people. And she sees that in Geralt. And Geralt takes her to Kaer Morhen. And here's the thing, right? She's the princess of Nilfgaard. So Ymir, with his considerable reach, which is the world, goes, bring me my daughter, and sends Nilfgaard on a manhunt for Ciri. Meanwhile, to keep up appearances, he hires a fake Ciri, who is perfectly courtly and exceptionally well-mannered, and does, like, it's a complete 180 from how Ymir's daughter used to behave, but it's for appearances. And eventually, Ymir hires Geralt to find Ciri. And Geralt's like, I don't know where the fuck she is. She's totally not in Kaer Morhen, sips tea. And yeah, Geralt and Vesemir are training Ciri to be a witcher. And some events happen at the end of Witcher 2, at the start of Witcher 3, that involve Ciri. And to talk about that, we need to wait for Witcher 3. Suffice to say, there is much more to Ciri than meets the eye. Much more. So, stay tuned for that. But Ymir is still a big deal. Ymir is the emperor of the world, but he is not the only ruler. And the larger sorceress is spread out. The biggest country name that you need to know for Witcher 2 is, if I can find it, it's Temeria, but I'm trying to find the page for Temeria for you guys. It's not Cedric. No. Foltest. There it is. I always get his name wrong. That's my bad. King Foltest of Temeria. And we'll grab his picture. This guy looks like a tool, and that's because he is. But this guy plays a major role in Witcher 2. More so even than Ymir. Foltest is the king of Temeria. Temeria is where Rivia is from. Brightwood, are you back? Let me make sure Rivia is in here. It might not be. Yeah, okay, Rivia is not in Temeria, my bad. But Kaer Morhen is. Oh, no, it's not. Kaer Morhen is in Kedwin. Okay, I don't actually know why Geralt is in Temeria at the start of Witcher 2. But we'll find out, right? But Volstead is fighting with King. Oh, what's his name? I'm sorry, guys. King. What is his name? What is his name? What is his name? What is his name? It's his name is literally like his title is like the cockerel. Um, Radovid. That's it. His name's Radovid. Um, Radovid. Radovid is the I can't find a picture of him right now, but Radovid is the like he's fighting Foltest, pardon me, um, over basically what Nilfgaard doesn't want. Neither one of them can take on Nilfgaard in Witcher 2, and they're fighting a bunch of other like a bunch of other wars. But the main thing is Volstead is at war, and he hires Geralt as a Witcher to basically like help him deal with the ghouls and stuff that inevitably pop up at his battlefield, right? And it's from that the events of Witcher 2 unfold. Triss Merigold, Triss's best Triss, is in the Lodge of Sorceresses. She's assigned to Foltest. Damn it, I'll get his name right eventually. Foltest. And so Triss, Geralt, and Foltest are all like the main members of the start of Witcher 2. So these are the three names that you need to know. Geralt works with the Temerian army as a Witcher, but he does not fight in the actual wars. Like, he is not a soldier of Temeria. Did I hear a bright one come back? No. Okay. Foltest is flatly an asshole. There are very few redemptive qualities about Foltest. He is he's exceptionally religious, which is not in itself a bad thing. He's xenophobic. He is racist, literally racist, in the sense that he thinks humans are better than everybody else. And he's a warmonger, quite literally. He enjoys combat. And so the events as they play out in Witcher 1 or Witcher 2, sorry, involve Foltest and Yen like in battlefields and Geralt on the periphery. And then things get weird. There's a couple of other names that you need to know for The Witcher, and yes, I know there's a lot. But the only other really big name that you need to know is... What's his name? I'm blanking on his name. His name is... He's an elf, so it's taking me a second. I apologize. Iorveth. Iorveth is an elf, and he is a member of what is called the Scoia'tael, literally the squirrels. They are a band of non-human civil rights activists, basically, who fight persecution, literally. Iorveth and the Scoia'tael are a thorn in Foltest's side, as well as a lot of the human nation's sides. And Iorveth plays a prominent role in Witcher 2. So these are, maybe less so Lambert, these are the main players in Witcher 2. Everybody you see on the screen right now. And there's a lot of political intrigue. It's like equal parts monster slaying and political intrigue in The Witcher 2. There's a lot of Geralt trying to get the last of his memory back, find out some information of the events that happened, and all of that stuff. There is one more prominent character, but I can't talk about that character right now, unfortunately. But I'll be able to talk about him between Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. So here's your cast of characters for the time being. As far as the events go, we need to talk about Geralt's past a little bit, especially Witcher 1. So, in Witcher 1, Geralt loses his memory. Or, more specifically, he loses his memory before Witcher 1, and there's a reason for that. He died. Geralt and Yennefer both they're dead. They're corpses. What happened was there was what's called a pogrom literally in Rivia. There was an altercation between some humans and some dwarfs, and it spiraled out of control. It became a huge riot. There was fighting on both sides, and Geralt and Yen, who were together at the time, tried to step in, calm things down, and they were both killed by a pitchfork. Like, a farmer with a pitchfork killed Geralt of fucking Rivia and Yennefer of Vengerberg. Ciri saw this happen and used a power that she has that will be explored more in Witcher 3 to basically Deus Ex Machina that didn't happen. Ciri is both a character and a MacGuffin. She is the Mary Sue character of the Witcher world. She has god powers, and I'm not even exaggerating. She has god powers. She heals Geralt and Yennefer and transports them away beyond time and space to somewhere not in Rivia during the pogrom. And then fucks off because using her god powers catches the ire of the thing that wants her god powers. And again, we'll talk about that during Witcher 3. And Geralt and Yennefer wake up on this island beyond time and space and separate because they lose their memory because they're both dead. They separate. And Geralt goes on a quest to find out who he is. And eventually he winds up back in Kaer Morhen. And Kaer Morhen is attacked by a group called the Salamandra, which steal a bunch of Witcher supplies and fuck off again. Geralt knows that he's a Witcher, but he doesn't know much else beyond that. And so the plot of Witcher 1 is basically finding what's going on, finding the Salamandra, getting at least part of his memory back, and otherwise saving the day, right? With a lot of political intrigue and getting a feel for what it is to be a Witcher game in Witcher 1. Witcher 2, Geralt is following leads to get his memory back. He knows who he is, he knows more of what's going on, but it's not 100%. And he's following leads, and Foltest has some of those leads. So Geralt is working with Foltest to get that information, and Foltest is using that as leverage to get the Witcher to do what he wants for cheap and or free. So that's the situation with that. Yennefer, I don't think is in Witcher 2, or if she is at the very end.
At the very end, yeah.
At the very end. And then Triss remembers Geralt, sort of. But she knows he doesn't remember, and she's trying to help him recover his memory, but she only knows so much, and what she doesn't know, she can't help Geralt with. And so, she's brought along for this adventure because she likes Geralt. To say she likes Geralt is an understatement. She's infatuated and obsessed with Geralt. Which is kind of shitty that they wrote her that way, but at the same time, fictionally, it makes sense. Geralt, post-amnesia Geralt, treats Triss very, very well. And they become romantically involved. She's not trying to steal him away from Yennefer, per se, but it's just that she doesn't know about Yennefer. And yeah, she's trying to help Geralt become Geralt again as the events of Witcher 2 unfold. What are your thoughts on what we need to talk about?
Well, first thought is, what did I miss while I was gone?
I talked about Temeria, I talked about Redania, I talked about the plot of Witcher 1 in a very, very, very condensed way. I talked about the Scoia'tael, and that's about it.
Trying to itch my brain on what I remember.
We can talk about killing monsters.
And so the different type of monsters,
yeah.
Or maybe not specific monsters, just general, like ghouls and.
So Witchers, at the end of the day, Witchers hunt monsters. That includes humans and elves and dwarves. Witchers take a very neutral view. It's called the path. On everything. To say that they're sociopathic is an understatement. It doesn't matter if you are a priestess, a king, a charity worker, an orphan, a soldier, a thug, a thief, a human, a dwarf, an elf, a gnome, a lubberkin, a minotaur. It doesn't matter. If you have a contract out on your head that a Witcher can collect on, or if you do something that a Witcher does not think is right, you're dead.
Pretty much.
That's why they carry two swords. And they carry steel for humans and silver for monsters. And there's a great line in Witcher 3 that I absolutely love, where somebody says, are you one of those Witchers who can carry the silver sword for killing monsters? And Geralt just side-eyes him and he goes, both my swords are for monsters. And I was just like, I
remember that.
Oh my god, that line is so good. It's such a good line. And yeah, Geralt is all about that. Is all about those killing monsters. All Witchers are. And so, excuse me. They're not above cutting down a person, and they're not above saving a monster from a person if it's not, if it's not necessary to kill that monster. A lot of monsters are intelligent. For example, trolls. Right? Trolls
I love trolls in this
are... They are intelligent in the sense that they are sapient. They are stupid in the sense that they are stupid. But they can talk, they can think, they can react, and they can do things. They cannot integrate into society well because they're real fucking stupid. But they are useful and they can be utilized in certain ways, and they can be persecuted. There's a couple of times where a troll is being assaulted by humans, by people, and Geralt goes, or a Witcher goes, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" And they're like, "It's a fucking monster!" And Geralt is like, "Was it destroying your homes?" And they're like, "No, but it wandered into our village." And Geralt is like, "Back the fuck off."
Yeah.
And yeah, like, if the troll starts, like, killing...
Smashing buildings.
Yeah, smashing buildings, killing livestock, whatever, then Geralt is like, "Okay, I'm gonna fucking kill you." But if the troll just, like, wanders in... Because trolls will do that. Trolls will just, like, "Oh, it's a place to get out of the rain, trollololo." Like, they literally say trollololo. And then they just, like, walk into the town to, like, get out of the rain or whatever, and they don't necessarily know that they're not supposed to do that, because they're kind of stupid. And so, yeah, so Geralt will just walk up to this troll and be like, "This is not a troll place. You need to go back to the troll place." And the troll will sometimes be like, "No, troll, stay here," and, like, punch Geralt, in which case Geralt has to put him down. But sometimes the troll is like, "Oh, did not know, trollolo," and just walks away. And that's the end of it. It's great. It's so good.
Yeah.
And there are other monsters that do that. There are some monsters that are fucking intelligent as hell. There are some monsters that are, like, reasonable. And there's some that can shapeshift. So, like, it's possible that, like, there will be, like, a human in a given situation, or usually an elf, more accurately. They usually turn into elves. And they'll do something awful, and Geralt will pull out the steel sword and bap them, and nothing will happen, and he'll have this "oh shit" moment when they turn into a fucking vampire or whatever. That happens in Blood and Wine for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, like, you can't always tell who the monster is, but there are some that are just unilaterally bad. When there is a battlefield, when there is a graveyard, when there is a lot of decomposing corpses, scavengers show up. These scavengers could be wraiths. These scavengers could be ghouls, which are more like dogs than how we think of ghouls in D&D. They're basically, like, undead, bestial, like, animals.
Yeah, they're basically
animals.
like packs of dogs.
Yeah. They
more
will
terrifying.
come and they will eat the dead, and then they will realize that the living taste the same, and they will attack the soldiers. And so they need to call in a Witcher and, like, clear out the battlefield. That's actually, like, one of the most common things that a Witcher does in wartime is, you know, clear out battlefields with Igni or Ard or kill the ghouls that are there, so that the soldiers can take the dead away.
Yeah.
There's one scene in the start of Witcher 3 where Geralt and Vesemir are riding across the countryside, and they see some people hanging from a tree, and Vesemir makes a remark like, "No wonder the village is being attacked." Because there's
ghouls.
Yeah, there's just dead shit hanging out. You're not supposed to do that because you'll get ghouls.
They'll be like, "Oh, it's a buffet. Let's go eat everything until there's nothing."
Yeah, and again, because they're monsters and metal, like, steel doesn't work on them, much less, like, a wooden club. Like, a ghoul shows up in your town, you're not a witcher, you're not a sorceress. Even if you have a contingent of soldiers, you're dead. You are dead. It's that simple. So, like, keep in mind, especially when playing through these games, or watching me play through these games, or watching someone else play through these games, keep in mind, yes, Geralt is killing tons and tons and tons of these mooks, but no one else can.
Pretty much.
Like, it's easy for Geralt, but Geralt can't do accounting, right? Geralt can't make a pot. This is his job. This is what he knows.
Formal business outfit and trying to do that.
Right. Although I do like the picture of Geralt in a pinstripe suit with sunglasses. That's a pretty cool picture.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the detective picture. That's a good one, too. But anyway. There's a lot of interesting monsters, and I don't want to spoil them too much because they're just cool, and the things that they can do make you go, "Wait, what? Neat." A lot of times, and that's true for the humans as well. Um, the world of Witcher is so very fascinating. What do we want to talk about next to provide context for Witcher 2? I don't want to talk about Falstead.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about your bro.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we? Where can we? We should probably talk about the Scoia'tael.
Yeah,
I talked about Eorveth a little bit, but we need to talk about Scoia'tael. And I just want to read this directly from the wiki for you guys. So bear with me. The next little bit is going to be straight from the wiki. Racism and deep-seated discrimination against non-humans inflamed a great hatred of humans amongst non-humans in the northern kingdoms, such as Temeria. Most of the Scoia'tael, were elves. However, it isn't uncommon to find halflings and dwarves among them. Scoia'tael were divided into commandos, considered to be a gnomish term, comprised of several fighters. Bigger, more highly promoted commandos were rare and strictly established during battles or for specific tasks. The most well-known Scoia'tael Special Task Force was the Vrihed Brigade, commandeered by Isengrim fucking hell. Fawitiarna. They were identified for their silver lightning bolt symbol. The Scoia'tael were allied with Nilfgaard and used by Emperor Ymir for diversion, as well as support for the Nilfgaardian army. In exchange for their support, Emperor Ymir gave the elves Dol Blathana as their own independent state and made Enid Ein Gliana its queen. After the Peace of Cintra, they were condemned as outlaws even by their elven queen. The Scoia'tael are non-human gorillas, also known as the squirrels, due to the squirrel tails they wear on themselves. The Scoia'tael are... They're soldiers. They're guerrilla soldiers who... They fight for Nilfgaard, but for whomever is paying the most, right? And most importantly, they fight for non-human rights. One of Geralt's friends, who shall remain nameless because we're going to meet him in Witcher 2, is a big proponent of the Scoia'tael. He really, really likes the Scoia'tael. He throws in with the Scoia'tael at any opportunity that he can because he's not a human. Yeah. But it's equally true that the Scoia'tael are terrorists. Yes, they're fighting for non-human rights, but they're fighting for non-human rights. They are burning grain stores and blowing up convoys and taking hostages and making political bargains and killing soldiers and ambushing traitors and all of this stuff. It's for a cause. Whether or not you think it is a good cause is a matter of perspective, but they are doing these things, and that's a problem. And you'll see a lot of the Scoia'tael in Witcher 2. You can choose to side with the Scoia'tael or the Temerian army in Witcher 2. I don't think there's a neutral option, Braywind.
If there is, I don't remember. I don't think there is.
I'm not gonna say which side I'm gonna side with. I might actually let chat choose. When the time comes. But both the Temerian society and the Scoia'tael are shown to have pros and cons in Witcher 2, and that's one of the things that I really, really like about the Witcher world. And that's true for most things in the Witcher world. Like, if you dig into it, there's lore for so much.
Oh, yeah.
There's
one of my favorite things about the franchise.
Yeah, they're novels. And we'll be talking about it more in the game itself. Am I missing anything? I feel like there's more we need to talk about, but I don't know what.
Man, everything I keep thinking of would just be major story spoilers, which we don't want to do.
We don't want to spoil Witcher 2 or Witcher 3. We can talk about Witcher 1. We can talk about the books.
I haven't read the books, and I don't think I've seen Witcher 1.
Okay.
I might have seen, the last half of it. I don't remember. It's been years since I've watched that.
No, that's fine. So, now is the part of setting the stage where we usually open it up for questions. And I'm sure there's a lot of Witcher-based questions that you guys can ask. And so long as it's not a spoiler, if it's not something we've covered here today, Bright and I will try to answer it. If it's a spoiler, I'll be like, "That's a spoiler. Stay tuned." And if it's bluntly a spoiler, like for instance, so tell us what's your opinion of how Snape kills Dumbledore. I'm gonna ban you. So keep that in
How dare
mind.
you spoil Harry Potter for everyone?
I mean, Harry Potter's been out for over a decade.
I
Get
know,
fucked.
it's fine.
Like,
And I've read the series like 3 times. So
but yeah, like if don't be the reason we can't have nice things, right? Don't be an asshole for your own entertainment. Let me be an asshole for your entertainment.
And if there's something we covered and there's a certain part of it that you want to discover
Yeah,
that we didn't,
absolutely. Yeah. If you have questions, you know, feel free to bring them. And Brightman, that goes for you as well, because I know more about Witcher than you do. Do you
Sure.
have any questions?
None that I can ask without spoiling things.
I mean, just be careful. What do you got?
Basically, it involves a certain character, and I don't remember where they show up, so that'd be like a thing I just PM you about because it's a spoiler.
What is the what is the tell me what the character
I
does.
mentioned
Without,
half
you talking about your bro?
character. Yeah,
What about him do you want to know?
I just don't remember at what point. I remember at the last part of the game he's in. I just don't remember where he comes in.
At the beginning.
Really?
Yeah. He's the chief catalyst. That's why I'm not talking about him.
Oh shit! I remember now.
Yeah. He's in the
There
whole
was a
game,
scene I
dude.
forgot about. There was a scene I forgot about in
Yup.
the beginning. Okay.
So there's your answer.
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
So anybody has any questions, we'll open the floor to that. Because there's not really much else to say, and I do want to make sure that, or rather, there's not much I can think of to say, but I want to make sure that we cover all of the angles before we start Witcher 2 tomorrow. So we're not starting it today.
I'm hyped.
I am also hype. And we'll do another STS between Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 because there's just so much.
Now, is there going to be a break between the two games,
No.
or do you not know yet?
No, there is not. We're
Wow.
going straight from Witcher 2 into Witcher 3.
Okay.
Well, there'll be a break for an STS, but
Oh, yeah.
because I gotta get through Witcher 3 before October, dude.
Yeah, that's why I went, oh boy.
Yeah,
I looked at the date and, yeah. I mean, it's doable.
it's totally doable. We just gotta go hard.
Yeah.
So
Because, you know me, I like to 100% games, and that adds
Mhm.
like hours upon hours.
Mhm.
And, you know.
now, chat's kind of quiet, and I'm not sure if my chat is dead. Would you mind to ping my chat just to make sure that it's still functional? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
we're good.
Cool. Yeah, we're good. So yeah, if nobody has any questions, I guess we just need to wrap it up then. I am super hype for this game, and I hope that you guys are also super hyped for this game.
Oh, yes.
But
Wait, no.
oh shit, my OBS crashed. There we go. It's fine. I'm still live, I think.
Yeah, we're good.
But I'm super hyped for this game. I hope you guys are super hyped for this game. There's a lot to cover. I will be reading all of the damn books that we get in the game. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for heavy, heavy lore discussion. But also, right, be prepared for some uncomfortable themes. Right?
Yes.
Like, come into this tomorrow and moving forward, understanding that this is not. I mean, it's a power fantasy in some cases, and it's a, you know, making love to a sorceress simulator in some ways. And yeah, there's a gratuitous amounts of tits and blood in it, but at the same time, there are noble characters and there are awful characters, and sometimes it's the same person.
I just thought of a thing that amused me greatly.
What's up?
We're going from Slime Rancher to Witcher.
Yeah,
Just complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I
that's
love it.
why I did it.
I know, perfect. Well played.
Thank you. So, yeah, I think without any further ado, we are going to. I would say the stage is set and the players are prepared for
Yeah.
tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up there. I always wrap up early when we do an STS. Um, and this has been the setting the stage for The Witcher 2. Hope you guys enjoyed. I sincerely hope that you guys enjoyed. Um, I need to go and make some stuff ready for tomorrow. I need to meet with some people, and it's our Streamiversary week. Before I go, I want to know, first of all, does anybody want to go on a raid? Anybody want to go on a masquerade as we wrap
I'm
things
always
up? But also, I want to let people know again that this is live. Our Designed by Human shop is live as of today. If people want to go and check that out, we've got a lot of posters, and we're getting some stickers, and we'll get some T-shirts later. But I really wanted to go live with this today as the big announcement. We're also doing Decisive Action open mic nights, starting in September. You're on my list, Brightwind. And also October, as you saw at the bottom of the screen when I showed the shop, the Designed by Human shop. You saw a progress bar for October. October is our October blowout to play counterpoint to all of the stuff that is happening around the world. For Halloween, we do artistic stuff on the channel. It's a very much a hot drinks and beret kind of crowd. For that month, I want to showcase a lot of stuff. I want to go big with it this year, so I need to fill up that progress bar. It is a tip goal progress bar, and so anything that you guys can do or want to do to help with that would be huge, because if we can fill that bar up, I can do a month-long event, and I can only do as long of October as we fill that bar, because I have some financial issues on my own side that I need to deal with. But for now, I think it's time to wrap things up. Unfortunately, I
had fun.
yeah, I also had fun. I really hope my chat does not die. I really hope my chat does not die, and if it is, I'm sorry. I just can't see anything. But for now, I'm gonna be hosting someone. When I'm not live, I'm always hosting someone. So check back here whether or not something is going on, because something is going on. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow for the start of Witcher 2. For now, for myself, my keepers, Brightwind, for being my co-host for today, to all of you, the regulars, followers, newcomers, and the lurkers, whether you're just having a seat by the fire or you've got a running tab at the bar, remember that there's always more stories to tell. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow for the start of Witcher and a new chapter. Good night, guys. Thanks for stopping by today. Hope you enjoyed.